Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this quick Generation 1 figure showcase and review, we're going to be looking at one of my favourite little subgroups of Generation 1 figures. This is of course the Throttlebots, but in this case particularly, we're going to be looking at Autobot Chase. So, in this video I'm going to point out the main differences between the first releases and the later gold card ones. Because he's a vintage figure, I'm going to point out things that you need to be aware of if you're after purchasing one for yourself. If you've not seen these before, I'm going to show you the brilliant little gimmick that they do in fact have. And of course, I'm going to show you the beautiful packaging and show you, I suppose, just how big these are compared to some of today's more modern figures. So before we get started, I'd like to remind anybody who's not subscribed to the channel, if I'd hit that subscribe button for me now, please, because it really will help me out. Right, let's start off with the robot mode then. And I suppose one of the main reasons I've got to confess why I absolutely love these figures is I've just got such fond memories of them. These were, I suppose, the follow on to the mini-bots. What I mean by that is the mini-bots came out in 1984 originally, and they lasted 3 years till 1986. Once the mini-bots went, there was a big gap available in the market for what's known as pocket money toys, which of course meant nice and cheap little figures, which is exactly what these are. And of course, because they were small, you could fit them into your pocket as well. Now this of course did come with some of the I suppose compromises, because it was so cheap. The transformation was super basic, and indeed the articulation was, let's be honest, non-existent. The articulation, you could say, is that he could lie down and he could get back up. That is probably about it. And he could flap like he was pretending to be a chicken, which again is no real actual use. But the best thing about these was that it didn't matter which mode they were in, they had a pull back and go motor, which you can see like that, which of course just works as simple as that, and indeed exactly the same in robot mode. So in all seriousness, lots of fun. The transformation process is basically exactly that. Just lift him up, fold it down, and put that in. Now you can keep that out if you want, but it is obviously better if you push it in. So because he's vintage, and if you do want it to work, I would suggest asking the seller if it does work, because of course pullback motors tend, especially when kids, you know, they manhandled them, went too far back and damaged the motor. The tires were all rubber, so they could perish, and of course the inside of there, which you can see on this one especially, has started to get sun faded as well. Now he's got a bit of well, quite a nice bit of molding detail for the face, and you can see here we've got the rub sign. So that means this is a vintage 1987 sort of first release of the figure, which is exactly how they came packaged on these particular cards. The gold cards came out in 1991. We'll come to them in a second. So the original vintage cards, some of them came with decoys. And of course you had the font that was the Transformers font at that particular time in 1987. You had the transformation process on the back, you had the tech spec decoder, which was the way it's always been, and indeed he's got his bio on the side there as well. Now of course the most obvious thing for the figure is the indentation there with the rub sign in. When they were released later, and if it hasn't got a rub sign, it doesn't mean it's a fake, it doesn't mean it's a KO, it more than likely means that it is one of the 1991 gold card reissues, where they just stuck the Autobot logo on the top, which is what we've got there. And again, the artwork for the main character is exactly the same. The difference though, of course, is the font, because they changed the font, especially in the comics as well. The bio is, I think, still the same, but of course this looks slightly different, and there's nothing else on the back. Now the Throttlebots, if you brought them in other countries, you could actually get them in these beautiful little boxes as well. So in Italy, in the Jig, they were called Satobots. I know they weren't Racerbots instead of Throttlebots, and in Japan they were also packaged in these little boxes as well, and of course you can tell by the Japanese writing. Now they did as well have the beautiful artwork on the back, which none of the cards did, which I find was a little bit annoying as soon as I found that out, because I love the artwork on the back, but we didn't get any of them at all. So of course what you're looking out for as well is the stickers. These here do perish and come off quite easily, and as you can see, the Autobot one is completely missing. As I say though, lots of fun, serve their purpose in lots of different ways. That is a core class Optimus Prime. That is a Blockies Optimus Prime, and then this is a missing link cliff jumper, but it's about the same size as your mini bots. You can see, I suppose, sort of how they all fit. They were super small, they were just super fun, and indeed, you know, with the Optimus Prime G1 at the time, they were tiny. They just sort of fit into the toy line, didn't really have too much of a presence in, you know, they had a bit of story in the comics. I don't think they had anything that I can remember in the cartoon. They may have very briefly appeared and it's just evaded my memory. I mean, that gives you an idea of how small he is. He's not even up to the knee of Commander Class Optimus Prime. But there you go, guys. Hope this brought back some nice memories for you. As I say, I love these little guys. They're so much fun. And indeed, still at the moment, they're really quite accessible. So if you are after these are quite easy to source. Let me know what you think of them in the comments, guys. Take care.